Hello.
Hi, Hitler.
How's your day been?
Very good, mein Führer.
How are the trial experiments on the Jews doing?
It is alright, but I have something more important to discuss.
What is it?
Many civilians and high-ranking officers have been, disagreeing with our final solution plan.
Don't worry about it. I have our most elite forces dealing with those who oppose the plan. In addition, the SS and Gestapo are closely watching the movements and actions of our citizens.
Mein Führer, what about the people? Don't we fight for the prosperity of our people? Well, what would we do if those that we are fighting for turned on us because of our actions?
Don't get nearsighted, my friend. There are 3 supporters for every hater, and we have the people on our side. Don't let the extremists make you forget the rest.
But our people still don't know about the experiments and camps that we have been doing to the Jews and the Gypsies and the Poles and the Soviets. What would we do then? Our Third Reich would be shaken to its foundations.
People would support us. They're not just ready to hear about it yet. We will tell them when the time is right.
Even if you say that we have bigger fish to fry, our policies on anti-Semitism are making us lose support, especially in the more Jewish communities.
I've noticed this, but we must start the crusade that we started. I know you must be thinking that we don't have to finish this crusade, but my campaign for Führer was based on the fact that I promised to punish the Jews and bring prosperity to our great kingdom, the Third Reich. Now back to our original purpose for meeting here, approving the final solution.
I will approve of the plan either way, and as long as you believe the people will follow you, I will follow you. There is just one issue, and I mean not disrespect, mein Führer, but do you want to go down as the Third Reich that committed all these human experiments and eliminated a race?
Ah, that is what you're worried about, Joseph. Relax. Don't you know that the victors write the history books?
Very well. You know, mein Führer, why did we approve of the final solution?
We've talked about this many times. Can we just move on already?
The final solution killed almost 6 million Jews and many more. We accomplished what no other group has done before. We almost eliminated a race. So why did we fail?
We didn't. Our SS and Gestapo made sure our plan was followed its course, but our military strategy failed, and we caused these Jews to forever vacate our fatherland.
Also, we created a new doctrine, anti-fascism and anti-Nazism. You know, 10 years have passed, mein Führer. I must go now.
See you on the other side, my friend.
Hey, what's good?
What's good, man? How you been?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Ah, nice to see you. So how's it going with you?
Nothing much. Just dealing with the civil rights movement and figuring out if the Civil Rights Act is the right thing to approve.
The civil rights movement. I've been hearing a lot about that. The African Americans seem to be very passionate about ending segregation.
True, but a lot of white people seem to not like what the blacks are advocating for, even though the blacks have the constitutional right to possess these freedoms. This doesn't mean there are not any whites who do support the civil rights movement. Sadly, though, the majority of the whites disagree with granting these rights to African Americans.
Ending inequality will be extremely difficult. Congress will not want to anger the majority of the country.
I agree. Weirdly, this reminds us of our situation of the Japanese internment camps during World War II.
How so?
Well, the moral choice would be to grant the civil rights to the African Americans as we granted to the whites, which can originally be perceived as a positive thing. But in the future, as we look back as a government and a country, the act will be seen as a negative event.
Although I see your viewpoint, I don't believe that is the right way to address this issue. The African Americans have been discriminated against since their inception into the United States, while the Japanese were imprisoned for only 5 years. Laws like the Jim Crow laws and the Racial Integrity Act of 1924 have also contributed to increased hatred against African Americans, so the degree of the Japanese internment camps were of a lesser degree.
Good point. I will implement the Civil Rights Act because it will allow equality between the whites and blacks. I will also try to repeal the Jim Crow laws and Racial Integrity Act of 1924, despite the flack I would receive, because the majority of those who supported the creation of those laws were white people. It would create a better image of the African Americans for future generations and reduce racism of the current generation.
Well, ending segregation was a brilliant idea. Just look at those happy people over there.
As an African American, the repeal of the Jim Crow laws and Racial Integrity Act of 1924 was the best thing to ever happen to me.
As a white Protestant American, it's nice to see people of all races getting along.
Not to mention, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 ended racial segregation in schools, inequality in voter registration, and outlawed discrimination in workplaces and public facilities.
I wish our path to equality amongst people of different races was bloodless. There were unfortunately many small battles that had to be fought. The National Guard was deployed to protect protesters against the police agencies of the South, who were supposed to protect and serve citizens of all backgrounds and nationalities.
Our strict enforcement of this law allowed it to affect the entire country and did not allow it to be undermined by those ignorant individuals who do not agree with the law.
Well, I gotta go on a political outing in an open-top convertible with my wife. I'll see you around.
See you later, homie.